Hey everyone, hope all is well. I have long believed that every day is a new chance to make a difference in life, whether that be to yourself or the world around you. And once upon a time, that positive notion was all the motivation I needed to get out of bed every morning and to start chipping away at my to-do list. However, that is unfortunately no longer the case, despite the fact that those words ring as true to me now as they ever have. The whole process of getting started is often an uphill struggle. And I know this is a fairly common phenomenon out there. There was actually a really great insightful piece I saw recently by fellow YouTuber Rosianna that I'll link to with this video that you should definitely check out, called The First Thing. In it she explores the whole mind experience of trying to get started with your day, how you take those first steps and navigate yourself around the tasks that you wish to do. And after commenting on it myself, I felt compelled to flesh out my own ideas in video form and also to give you guys an opportunity to share your experiences too. For some of you it may be just general procrastination, something I've long had in life, and for others it may be the more intensive anxiety-driven variety, which is what I deal with a lot more now. Throughout the recovery of my head injury, and especially during cognitive behavioural therapy, I've managed to identify what the problem is and how to combat it. But frustratingly, knowing it is not even half the battle. I look at it this way. Your mind is like an engine. You need your spark and you need your fuel. I'll start with fuel, which is your mental construction of a particular task. It could be something simple like housework, becoming aware of how many rooms you need to work on and how long it will probably take. Or it could be something a little more complicated, like creating a video, where there are a lot more variables, and so it can be difficult to imagine how exactly the whole process will play out. Now moving on to the spark. The spark is your inspiration, the mindset that gets you fired up and motivated. However, the type of spark you need depends on the type of fuel you have. What works for one task may not for another, and so it becomes a case of trial and error. And this is where the problem lies for some of us. Trial and error means you don't always succeed, and failure can be a huge knock on your confidence. But it's important to remember that failure is of the situation and not of you as a human being. If you are able to accept this idea, then it's possible to treat these moments as opportunities for enlightenment. Ask yourself, what didn't work? Why didn't it work? What could I do differently next time? Because yes, there will be a next time. There will be another chance to get it right. But when the previous attempt has left you feeling bruised, the whole idea of there being this next time can be quite daunting. This is what I believe can be the biggest contributor to one's struggle to take on a task. It all comes down to whether you associate it with positivity or negativity. Let's say I wake up on a day where a big task needs completing, either one I've never done before or one that usually causes me problems. Between the moment of acknowledging the task and getting on with it, you have this gap. And this gap can allow for questioning, overthinking, self-doubt, and even anxiety to develop. This in turn can cause you to start associating negative thoughts and feelings with the task. In a way, it makes the task feel heavier, bigger, and more daunting than it needs to be. And the more negative the perception that is all in your mind, the more willpower it will require to take it on, potentially making the gap expand. And as it expands, the more room there is for negative association, a horrible downward spiral. That's the best way I can explain it anyway. But don't worry, there is a flip side to this. It is possible to associate positive thoughts and feelings with a task. This brings us back to my point at the start of the video, that knowing is not even half the battle, because positive association tends to come from a sense of accomplishment, progress, or even relief after the task is done. But it's difficult to obtain positive association until we've experienced it in the first place, resulting in a need for some significant motivation to get to that point. It may be uncomfortable and a real energy drain to plough through a task, But once you come out the other side, you will hopefully be rewarded with positive feelings that you can associate with the task again when it next comes around. The more you do it, the easier it gets, but that doesn't take away from how difficult it initially is. Getting started with any task in life, whether large or small, is ultimately a game of association. And so, although this video is just an attempt to verbalise something I've gone through quite a lot lately, I have come up with a few potential solutions. Number one, structure. Employment and education provides us with a lot of this in life. But for people like me who are self-employed, it is a lot less strict. There is nothing worse than waking up on a new day only to then decide what to do. So if you can, plan ahead. And that doesn't mean you can't be flexible if things change. Number two, should versus could. This may seem like silly semantics, but language isn't just a tool for communication. It's the way that we think. So using the word could instead of should when thinking about tasks takes away a lot of unnecessary pressure. Ultimately, everything in life is a choice, even if the consequences of not doing it would be negative. And by doing things because you can, as opposed to because you should, will give you a real sense of liberation and empowerment. And number three, letting go. Something I'm sure will come as no surprise to many of you, because I often talk about how it is one of the most important lessons in life. It applies to so many different things. Sometimes you will face a task that you feel unprepared for mentally, and even when giving it a go, don't seem to be making much progress. I think of it like a big boulder. If you are pushing it and it's not budging, then pushing harder and harder will only drain your energy with very little result. So let go. Step away and shift your attention elsewhere. If you have a list of tasks, drop down to a different rung and see if you can gain momentum by working on something else. When we become too focused on a task we are struggling to start, it can create tunnel vision, causing us to forget about everything else around us that is important. So let go, knowing that you can come back to it later, because next time, you may have the momentum to move that metaphorical boulder. There is so much more I could speak about on this topic, so expect many more videos on this in future. But for now, tell me your thoughts in the comments section. I'd be really interested to hear your experiences and the way that you deal with gaining momentum and motivation, even with the toughest of tasks. You may have noticed there was no video from me last week. I sincerely apologise for that. It's not good enough. But ironically, I was going through a severe episode of anxiety while trying to collate my thoughts for this video. So I suppose, if anything, it was a good period of research. However, I managed to build myself a new structure, and it's worth noting that it's not always about just adding structure to your life, but sometimes changing the one you already have. I told myself I could make this video another time, and I've learned to let go. I've received some super nice words from you via social media, so thank you. Your understanding and compassion means an awful lot to me. I will be back to posting videos every week, so be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and like my Facebook page. I'm starting to build quite a nice playlist around mental health and well-being. I really like making these videos, and hopefully you enjoy watching them. So on that note, I will see you next week. Adios till next time.